The Cinque Terre, literally the five lands, are one of Italy's most breathtaking treasures. 5 colorful villages perched dramatically on the cliffs of the Ligurian coast. They are called terre, or lands, because each village was historically a self-contained ward, built on steep slope and connected more by sea and footpaths than by road. Located in the region of Liguria, between Genova and La Spezia, the Cinque Terre sit right on the rugged Riviera, where vineyards, olive groves and pastel houses meet the Mediterranean. One of the best ways to experience them is through the famous hiking trails that link all 5 villages. The full route is around 12 kilometers long, with sections of moderate to challenging difficulty and an elevation gain that can reach over 500 meters. It's a hike that will make you sweat, but every step rewards you with stunning sea views, terraced hillside, and unforgettable panoramas. Simply put, the Cinque Terre are a masterpiece of nature and tradition, a place so beautiful it feels almost unreal. I decided to hike the Cinque Terre trails again this year to get ready for the Cancer Research UK Walking Marathon on September 20th in London. Unfortunately, there were a few setbacks. The first is that in March I had a knee issue, and during the hike I really struggled on the downhill sections. The second is that the trail between Corniglia and Manarola is still closed, probably because of a landslide that happened years ago. The third is that I bought the ticket for the Via dell'Amore, literally the path of love, that is the path between Manarola and Rio Maggiore, but I lost it within the first 100 meters of the hike. The fourth is that Sonia, my friend, who will appear in the video and the photos, joined me at the very last minute. So last minute that she couldn't start from Monterosso with me, and we only met up later in Vernazza. Sto scherzando, Sonia. Mi ha fatto molto piacere che tu sia venuta. One note: hiking the trails comes with a fee of €5, but the Via dell'Amore has a separate, higher price, even though it is the shortest stretch of the whole route. Because of the setbacks I mentioned earlier, I had to change my plans. So, Sonia and I only visited 3 of the 5 towns, and we hiked just 2 of the 4 trails. On my own, I did Monterosso to Vernazza, which on paper is 4.3 kilometers, with 362 meters of elevation gain. With Sonia, I hiked from Vernazza to Corniglia, 368 meters of elevation gain, but surprisingly easier, since it has more climbing and less downhill. That's because Corniglia isn't by the sea like the others, but sits on a hilltop. In recent years, the Cinque Terre have become a very popular destination, even well known to people I've met coming all the way from the United States. Because of the sweltering heat, worsened in recent years by global warming, and the overwhelming number of tourists, it's become unthinkable to do the hike in August. But September is the perfect time. The heat is manageable, there aren't too many people around, and even in towns you can move around relatively easily. The two longest trails, if you don't count the stretch between Corniglia and Manarola, which as mentioned is closed along the coast, but can be done further up on the hill, take about an hour and a half each, at a moderate pace, considering the tourist conditions you can see in the video. Of course, with more tourists, you should expect long wait, especially on the climbs and descents, since there is always someone stopping to catch their breath and blocking everyone else. Strava tells me I covered 11 kilometers with 560 meters of elevation gain in 3 hours and 8 minutes, while a friend of mine did the whole route the next day in under 5 hours, but with 980 meters of elevation gain. Here you can admire not only the beauty of Vernazza, but also, more importantly, how unpresentable and sweaty I looked after the first trail because of my knee problem. As soon as I arrived, I went into the first shop with a yellow sign, and the shop assistant couldn't stop laughing because my legs were shaking embarrassingly from the effort of avoiding putting weight on my left knee. When I told her I was about to meet a friend, she suggested I jump straight into the sea fully clothed before going to see her. I also had sore legs for several days, so the London Marathon on the 20th will probably end badly. Anyway, I met up with Sonia. We had something to eat, we rested, well, I rested, for about an hour, and then we set off for the second part. The little booth that you see here is where they check the ticket for the trail you have to pay for. I think an important piece of information to share is that you don't need to pay in advance or go to the shops at the station. You can pay directly at the entrance of the trail. If I had done that, I would have avoided losing a ticket and saved myself €7. Last but not least, there is something to be said about the beaches in the Cinque Terre. Obviously, they are extremely crowded. So, even though Sonia and I managed to spend Ferragosto, that is August 15th, which is a national bank holiday in Italy, at the beach in Levanto, just outside the Cinque Terre, the beaches within the area, when they exist, are packed and almost all require payment. On a random weekend in August, we went to Monterosso, and the public beach was just a teeny strip where people squeezed together like they were playing Tetris. If you're planning to spend time at the beach, be ready to get there at dawn and to pay a small fortune.